Welcome to Cryptid Crossroads 505. I'm Larry.
And I'm Vince,
Welcome to the show.
where we talk all things cryptid,
Sasquatch,
aliens,
hauntings.
and anything paranormal you would like to share with us.
You can reach us at cryptidcrossroads505@gmail.com.
So settle in, open your mind, and enjoy the show.
Hey, welcome to Cryptid Crossroads 505. We're in the studio once again doing it. If you call this a studio, I'm here with my co-host Vince. Vince, give me a shout out.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the CCR 505. It is a studio.
Yes, it is.
It is a studio.
It's our private studio.
It might be a studio apartment, but
That's
it's still
right.
a studio.
Anyway, as all our fans know and all our followers and listeners, every time we come to you and bring you an episode, we do a shot. We're going to switch it up a little bit tonight. I'm going to once again give a shout out to Chris. Chris, thank you. You still are our sponsor. And by the way, Chris is my son. But tonight...
So he has to sponsor
That's
us.
right. That's right. So tonight, I was telling my brother earlier that I met someone who was out at the club. I want to say it's a pub, not a bar. It's a pub where families go and eat, but we go there and we have drinks, me and my friends, or me and my friend, and we were just sitting there, and we had this young woman approach our table, and she was promoting the distillery she works for, and her drink was vodka, and I was like, I don't, I'm not a vodka fan, and she convinced me. She's a good salesman, Jennifer. You're a good salesman. She convinced me to try the vodka and their gin, which the gin is lavender, and it did taste like lavender, but the vodka was so smooth that I told her I'm going to promote it on our podcast. So I want everyone in the 505, because this is a local company in the 505, next time you're in the market for some vodka, I want you to try this from the Nickel Company.
Right.
This is really good vodka. Now, I'm going to promote this bottle till it's gone. I may even do it on an empty bottle because I'm convinced it's a good product.
Right.
So those of you that are in the 505, go ahead and try it.
Right. And if you're not in the 505, look up www.nikleco.com, Nickel Co. And it'll take you to their website. And I'm not sure if they do online sales. They might. But it'll show you a little bit more about their company. And even if you are in the 505, I'm sure it'll give you their location where you could go check it out yourself.
That's right. And for the past couple episodes, we've been doing shots of the Howlerhead, which my sister sponsored. But tonight, we're going to do shots of Nickel vodka. And, vodka's not something you shoot, so we mixed it with pomegranate juice.
Well, I shoot it, but I'm kind of strange.
So,
Now-
anyway...
Now, you heard a penny for your thoughts, right? We're not cheap. How about a nickel for your thoughts?
That's right. Look at that. And there is vodka in that, believe it or not.
Yeah, and I juiced it up.
He juiced it up. I poured the pomegranate. He poured the vodka. This is juiced up. So, Nickel, thanks.
Thanks to you. Shout out to you.
Much-
Everybody check them out.
Much success to you. Oh, yeah.
That was perfect.
That was a good mixture. Now, you see there's no afterbite in that vodka?
You could kind of, that's what a vodka should be, because traditionally vodka should have no smell or no taste.
And that's it.
You could feel a little bit of heat, but that's it.
But it is so smooth. So not only because you're from the 505 as we are, if you look there, right there, 505 Cryptid Crossroads, if you want to know what good vodka is, try it.
Right.
And I'm not just saying that because, I'm the one that said I'll push this product because it was that good. So
Right. Now, there's some really high quality vodkas on the market, the Russian stuff, and I've even seen it distilled through diamonds.
I've seen that too.
Now, I don't know the difference. I've never had one of those high-end vodkas, but to me, that's pretty darn good. You know, I've had the cheaper vodkas, and well, let's face it, I'm a cheapskate. I'm not a millionaire. So, but this is really good.
Right. It is. It's really good. Well, let's get on with the show tonight. So we're going to get back on the Squatch topic. There's
Our favorite topic.
our favorite topic, because that's what started this podcast. And I want to talk about a video that my brother sent to me. And it was awesome. I don't know how to describe this video. You know, I'm not going to say it's fake, and I'm not going to say it's real. But it really convinced me that this could be it's genuine.
Right. Now, I don't know exactly where this came from. A friend of mine sent it to me. I don't know if it was a relative. I don't know if they found it on the net. Maybe they found it on the net, but it's one I haven't seen before, and we usually scour the net for new stuff.
We do. And, you know, there's so much stuff out there. A lot of it, you look at it and you're like, okay.
Well, yeah, a little bit of common sense. Well, you know, everything on the net you got to take with a grain of salt.
You do.
But like we've talked about before, who are we to judge and say, you know, that didn't happen.
We weren't there.
We weren't there. So we look at it, and like we talked about off mic, maybe one of these people who analyze videos could get a hold of it.
That's right.
And they could, you know, break it down and see, you know,
Right.
fake or fact.
Anyway, you know, he sent me this video, and it's of a tree shaking and the Squatches grunting. Now, when I saw that, I was like, okay, I've seen videos of trees shaking like this before, but the grunting is what caught my attention, because we've heard things in the mountains when we go, and my brother has personally had his encounter, so we don't discredit that.
Right.
And to fake that, you got to either have had an encounter or you have heard one yourself.
Or you've done your research.
That's right. So that's what sold me, is the grunting, and I wish they would have stuck around for a little bit. But, you know, I don't discredit it, because when you hear stuff like that, first thing you're thinking about is, I'm getting the hell out of here.
Right. And like me and my brother talked about, is we wish they would have stuck around longer, you know, to see. Now, in this video, and I will post it on our Facebook page later this evening or tomorrow, there's enough room where you could see that there's no equipment.
Right.
But the tree's thick enough, the shrubage is thick enough that you can't really tell what's shaking the tree. Now, we've talked about photoshopping out equipment, because they do have like tree shakers. Like here in New Mexico, we have pecan trees.
Right.
So they have shakers to get the pecans out. But if it's photoshopped, one of these analysts could put it in their computer, and with their software, they could see the lines if something's been photoshopped out.
Right.
And that's why one of our favorite analysts is Thinker Thunker. That's why we always push him. Green Wave is really good too, MK Davis, but he hasn't put out a lot of new stuff lately.
He hasn't, but, you know, Thinker Thunker's consistent, so I hope he gets a hold of this and he does a review on it.
Right. So, you know, it'd be interesting what he finds. And we talked about them sticking around longer. And I thought about that too. It was in the middle of the day. You could see that tree shaking. I thought they should have took a few steps, you know, toward the tree. It would either trigger this, whatever shaking the tree, to run or charge them.
Right. A bluff charge is what they call it.
Right. And with our luck, it wouldn't be a bluff charge. But that
Right.
brought me back to when I had my first encounter. It was middle of the night, around midnight, and there was something there's a little hill where we go in our spot. Right up on the hill, it was yelling and it was shaking the trees, and those are big trees over there.
Right.
I'm talking big, and I couldn't shake them like that.
No.
But when that happened, sticking around or going closer to investigate was the last thing on my mind. When it was happening, my mind really couldn't even process it, because the whole encounter lasted an hour and a half, and it took me a good 30-45 minutes to really figure out what I was hearing.
Right.
And even then, I was guessing. You know, I heard the noises, I seen the eye shine, and then I look back now and I'm thinking, wow, what else could it have been?
And I don't fault the people because they left, because when he told me his encounter, after he processed it, what did he do? He left. He left. And here's why I think, I didn't say, oh, you're bullshitting me. He left everything there.
Right. I woke up, my daughter and her friend, me and my son were sitting by the fire, and my son was speechless. He's like, I don't know what that is. And I when I figured out, I'm like, I know exactly what that is.
Right.
And I woke up my daughter and her friend. I said, you need to hear this. And like, oh my God. So they're ready to bail. So I was out there by myself, two animals screaming at me, picking up their shoes, and all they did was grab the dog and jump in the truck.
Right. And I asked my nephew, I always ask him when we're packing up to go out, I say, we both ask him, you want to go? And he still says, no way.
He says, nope, I'm good.
Nope. He won't go back. But that leads us into another topic. I was scrolling the internet today looking at some of these images that people, now there's a lot of people that are making like replicas, it's not wax museum stuff, but they're building replicas of Sasquatches. And I'm like, they're all pretty similar. I'm like, are people getting this because they're scouring the internet looking at images, or do these people, have they had a genuine experience and they're recreating what they've seen?
Right. Now, I get it that not every Sasquatch is going to look the same, because if they got human DNA like us, they're going to have different traits.
Well, I mean, look, we've heard, even in the different areas, we've heard that you got the red hair ones, the black hair ones.
Albino ones?
People have even said there's albino ones out there. So if they are partial human and have human DNA, which we've talked about that, the mixture where possibly it's, people say it's Gigantopithecus. That is just a straight primate line. But if they have human DNA, then they're going to have different traits like us. And people have even said the eye colors were different in some.
Right. I want to say it was one of the Finding Bigfoot episodes where this lady was walking her dogs, and she saw one, and she said it had blue eyes.
Well, and blue eyes is a true human trait. And I've looked into and I don't know how true this is. They say blue eyes come from one person only. And, this is science talking now, not theory. Science has said they've traced that trait back to one person that bred with someone. And from that one person, blue eyes spread throughout the world. And I'm like, well, that's possible because, like we always say, we read our Bible and we have our belief. And if you really think about it, well, we all came from two people. If you're a Christian, if you're not, then we just came from a bunch of monkeys getting it on.
Right, and learn to walk.
That's right. So
now, if it came from one guy, that blue-eyed guy was pretty busy.
He was.
No, I understand what you're saying, but
I'll hold my tongue.
Right, but the different ones, everyone can't be having the same. Like some people say, it was an illusion.
Well, no,
a mass illusion. We can't.
They call it. What did they call it? A mass hallucination.
Mass hallucination.
Mass hallucination. That's what they call it.
But all the pictures, a lot of them are so similar. Now there's some similarities. Now different regions are differently. Like up in the Pac West, you see they look a lot like Patty.
Right, of course. That's the Pacific Northwest. Now they have different ones, and we've just on our last podcast we talked about that because we're talking about the size of the footprints and how as you go further north, they get bigger, and that's the theory that some of them are big. Now I expect the big ones to be monstrous, and of course the traits are going to be different everywhere.
Right. Now I think around here what we have are more similar to the Patty.
I think so. 9 foot tall. Right.
Very thick. But then again, that might be different because Patty was a female. Now, a lot of the theory is the ones that we do see are the scouts that come out looking to hunt and stuff. And the base camp with the tribe is somewhere else.
Right.
Or clan is what they call them, right?
The clans.
Now, that's one of the theories. But a lot of them we see, like do you remember the climber video?
Right. At the farm.
They're very lean. They're not skinny. They're lean.
Lean.
And that's maybe they're the scouts. They're the hunters. They're lean because they have to be fast.
They're built for speed.
Right.
Now, I've heard stories, and you have too, and we've talked about this as well in past episodes too, that forest rangers have actually watched these lean ones hunt deer and elk. And
Right.
the way they hunt them, it's like there's intelligence to these creatures that equals, or I'm going to say surpasses mankind right now. No, we have our technology, we have our computers, this and that, but take that away and put us back in the forest, would we survive? Not many of us would, but
Right.
these creatures have the intellect and the knowledge to survive off the land. Would we get it back? Yeah, we would, because human nature, we adapt and we overcome.
Right.
But a lot of us would die out.
Well, it might take a generation or two.
It would take generations.
Right. Now, getting back to the ones we see, the scouts, I believe they are very intelligent because they're out there looking for food, right? They're scouting.
Right.
Now, a lot of the animals in the forest, during times of, drought, when we don't have a lot of food up in the mountains, a lot of berries, like, for instance, deer and bear feed on, they roam into town.
Like right now.
Like right now, they roam into town. We're here in Albuquerque, and you see Albuquerque, it's a big city. We're down in a hole, but you'd be surprised how many bears roam into town in the heights.
Not bears. The area in the city that I live in, my household, we've seen right down the block, we've seen a pack of coyotes running through the neighborhood.
Yeah, coyotes, but I mean in the heights, right by the Sandias, there's
Well,
bears.
no. I know in the heights that the mountain lions come down, and that's why
Right.
they say keep your little pets in at night, because right now during the drought, they're going to take your little poodle, your Shih Tzu, whatever you got. They're going to hop the fence
Right.
and take it
And when we lived in Gallup, how many times did you hear stories of bears coming into town?
all the time.
All the time. Where we've heard the occasional story of a Sasquatch, and that was like rare. That was when we were growing up.
Right.
But I think they're more intelligent because they stay away from the city. They stay away from people. Now, I think that one incident where it went through, or the story is it went through Mossman, going through the trash.
Which is a neighborhood in Gallup.
Right. Now, that might have been out of pure desperation, because hunger will make any animal do things they don't
Of course.
usually do.
Well, let's take that back right here in New Mexico, where we're at, the 505, the Farmington area. So there's some casinos that are owned by the Navajo Nation, and supposedly on their security cameras at the Fruitland, which is in Farmington area, supposedly, and this is, I haven't seen it because of course they're not going to release it, but it got leaked that there was footage of 2 or 3 of them rummaging through the dumpsters at
The
that casino.
Right.
And, and it was late at night, but the security cameras caught them. And that blew up for like a year. And it blew up through the Farmington people that are doing what we do, like doing the Sasquatch investigation. And I've seen pictures of footprints by the river, the Mesilla Valley River, and, the San Juan River, good footprints. And it's hard to say that those are faked.
Right. The San Juan River Basin has always been a hot spot.
It has. And we've heard the Navajo elder stories about them helping them during times. And we also heard of the stories from Native
Right.
old women that say they come into their property and just brutalize their livestock.
Right. Now, getting back to the show, Finding Bigfoot, whatever you may think about it, you may think, oh, it's just for entertainment, this and that. And a lot of it is, I'm sure, but they have caught some good footage, and some of it was down on the San Juan River Basin, because they had a thermal image of one like behind the shrubbage, and it was even throwing rocks in the river. I don't know if you remember that episode.
I do, but their best footage, and they will admit, is where we go.
Yes.
It's up in the Jemez Mountains. They have a thermal footage, because that's where we go, the Jemez.
And there's also some good footage which made them want to go there.
That's right.
Now, if you go on the internet and look up thermal footage in the Jemez, there was a group of people out there, and they actually captured a couple of them, right?
Right. It was no one big one going through the woods.
No, I saw two, I think, in one of them.
Well, the one that they put on Finding Bigfoot, when they've been to New Mexico twice,
Right.
and the one in the Jemez, yes, that footage, that thermal image, it's not a normal human. Let's just say it's the rock on his shoulders moving, because this is a big thing moving through the forest, and they even analyzed it.
Right. Now, the one you're talking about is they show it going from tree to tree.
Right, it's just walking through the forest, and it's bulky, it's
Right.
huge.
Now, I want to say on that one, it has all the
Limbs, everything.
no, it has all the traits like they look for, like the way the knees bend and
Right,
stuff
the
like
gait,
that.
the gait, and you guys can find it if you watch Finding Bigfoot. It's on there, so
Now,
check it out.
on one of the first episodes of when Finding Bigfoot went to the Jemez, it was because of the twins.
Well, that was brought up. Yes, you're right, on one of the episodes, and when that came out, now that's like,
Over a decade ago.
I want to say 10, 11 years ago. It's when Finding Bigfoot first hit the airwaves. So me and my son, who no longer lives with me, he lives in Dallas. His name's Jimmy. Jimmy, your shout out. We got on our motorcycles and we rode that same path. And the only thing we saw was a big ass bear digging under a log, looking for either termites or grubs. And we stopped, and that bear just stopped, looked at us, held up its paw like this. Like, what's your next move?
Right.
And I told my son, let's go.
Yep. And that's the same road, the one going toward Los Alamos.
That's it.
That's the same one where I was out there after snowfall. My children and we just went, I call my children, they're already high school age. We just went for a ride. And that's when I saw the footprints on the side of the road that went and stepped over the fence and just kept going into the forest. I should have stopped and investigated, but on that road, there's a drop off. There's really nowhere to pull over. You have to find a pullover spot. Like they have these overlooks where you could see the
Right.
Valles Caldera
Right.
or the mountains, but there was nowhere to pull over. So I went as far as I could. Then where I found a spot I could turn around, and I turned around and we went back and my kids were like, "How did you even see that? You're supposed to be driving."
Right.
Well-
and like we've talked about this, we've mentioned it more than once or twice, but do you remember when we took my dogs up there for the
Yep.
first time?
Yep.
And my dog just bolted. As soon as I let him out of the truck, he bolted to the tree line. And I thought, well, okay, he's new up here. He's just excited. Come to find out, well, I have what's called Chesapeake Bay Retrievers, and they're purebred and they're hunting dogs. And he came across some big prints that we followed, and we didn't see him till we started walking down the hill, and we're like, oh, that's what he was looking
Yeah,
at.
your dog took off. He went right to them, and you're like, "Get back here!"
I'm like, get over here. I thought, he was still a pup. He was about a year old, and
But he locked on.
he locked on and bolted to it, and he's like, I guess he picked up a scent that we didn't.
Right.
And as we went up, we were filming with your drone,
Yeah.
and we went up the hill, and as we were coming down, we're like, whoa, look. As we followed him, we're like, there it is, the tree line. That's what he was doing.
Right, and that was his first time in the forest.
That
So
was.
everything was new to him. That's why
Right.
he wasn't intimidated.
No.
Like some dogs, like hunting dogs, when they catch that scent of a Bigfoot, they'll back down.
And you know what? All the ones we saw back down on the videos when they're hunting, those are hound dogs. Psst, I got Chesapeake Bay Retrievers, bro. They don't back down.
Well, they got like 2-3 times the size of a hound dog.
Right. Yeah, my brother says they're my little horses.
They're big dogs. They're big dogs.
Yeah.
I go in the back when I help him in the backyard, whatever, and it takes me all I can just to stay on my feet, and they're playing with me.
And they are big dogs. They are. But they're my dogs. I love them. Anyway, yeah, so, he locked on, and we know that there's been footprints up in the Farmington area, and they are genuine. We've heard stories from not just, these are not just people that you say are bullshitting, because these are people that have lived on the land for generation after generation, and they talk about how they're up in the, what's that mountain range there? The Chusca Mountains.
Oh, yeah.
They're there. They're in the Jemez Mountains. Now, we don't have the sightings they do like in the Pacific Northwest, where they see thousands every year, or out east in the Appalachians where they see them, or down in the Texas in the thicket area where
Right.
they see them constantly,
But-
because we're desert.
And the way the things work around here is we have our Jemez Mountains. There's like a couple of roads, and people, they're like everywhere. They camp on those roads, and not a lot of people get off the beaten path.
No, but you know what I have seen, and I'm not going to discredit it. I have seen like 3 or 4 police cam videos lately, and the latest one was, I think I saw a month ago, and where was it? I want to say it was, I can't even, I'm going to have to dig it up, but it was a police cam video that it was here in New Mexico, and the sheriff spotted it. And does that get out on Channel 4 News?
No, absolutely not, because I'm sure they delete that video.
Well, yeah, it got put out on the internet, and
Now, a lot of the that's probably rare that it got put out. A lot of these law enforcement people, especially if they're still working, they don't want to say nothing
Wow.
because they don't want to put their job in jeopardy. Now, we know somebody who's a retired state trooper, and he was telling me, because I always talk to him about, the UFO activity we see in the Jemez.
right,
And he was telling me about a crash south of Gallup around the Rama area, the
Right.
area. But he had to wait there for the wrecker. They took everyone to the hospital, whatever. And he said while he was waiting there by himself, he saw some crazy stuff in the sky he couldn't explain.
well, I mean, we see it up in the Jemez. Our older brother, we took him about a year ago.
Not even a year ago.
Not even, what,
It was
8
last
months?
summer.
8, yeah. Okay. We took our older brother up there because he's a truck driver. He don't get out a lot. And it was his lucky night, because the things we see in the sky up there. And here's why we go up there too. There's no lights. You see every star out there.
Right.
So you see some crazy activity that you can't explain in the sky. We don't see it every time we go, but we've seen a lot of activity of like shining craft that just zooms off at high rates of speed and just makes a quick stop. This time when we were out there, we all saw it was a craft, and it was just zoomed off, and it zigzagged like Charlie Brown's shirt zigzagged, and we all saw it, and we looked at my older brother and said, "Did you see that?" He's like, "I did."
It's the stuff we see out there is weird, and it might be the Russians because they dropped us vodka.
That's no. This is American vodka.
Yeah.
Corn. If it was potato, then it'd be Russian. It would have been Lana's vodka.
We will save the potatoes for Lay's.
That's right. Anyway, that same night we were in the truck and we were going to do a podcast.
About what we saw in the sky.
And then what happened?
Then we started talking. Then the whole truck just shook like that.
It swayed.
And I said, "Did you feel that?" And they were like, "Yeah, I did." And it took us a minute to get out because we didn't really realize.
Well, because we're up there and it's pitch dark.
Yeah, and I was hitting the brake light to see if I could see anything behind me. But when we got out, that was a shocker.
It was a shocker.
Yeah, there was a big handprint on the side of my truck. Now we go up there, it's a gravel road, so everything's dusty. We got a thin coat of dust and then a big handprint, probably about 4 inches longer than mine.
Right. And was that coincidence? Probably not, because we go to that same spot trying to lure them. And, maybe we're crazy because we try to lure them in.
That's called a habituation, where they get used to us being there.
That's
They
right.
come closer. Now, I sent my brother a video, and I've talked about this before, Team Squatch USA, and he talks about how he got started because he's big. He claims to have seen portals, but I've always took that with a grain of salt. But seeing a couple of his very first interviews when he had his encounter with his family, he's genuine. He's very emotional, and I don't know if you've even seen it yet.
I still haven't. I mean, I scour the internet when I have time because, I'm busy. But when I have time, this is the topic I look for.
But you really got to watch his interview. Then he takes off from there. He's a reputable guy. He's a psychiatrist. He has a practice. He's had a couple of habituation sites, but the first one, everyone found out about it, so they flooded it. And he even has a name. He claims that they could speak to him telepathically.
Well, I've heard.
And he calls them, the people have a certain kind of name, and the elders all have their own names, and they reveal things to him. It's weird because supposedly they reveal things about what's going to happen in the future, like with our country, with our leadership, and
Well,
it's just interesting. Team Squatch USA, you could find them on YouTube.
I'm going to look for that.
I'm not saying, that's gospel, but it's very interesting what he says, and it's even more interesting what he's been through.
Well, I mean, and let's look at it. Many people have said that they spoke to me telepathically, and they supposedly use what's that called?
Chokeweed.
No, not chokeweed. That one was funny, but no. What's the sound?
Infrasound.
Infrasound. That's because we know elephants use it.
Right.
Tigers use it.
Tigers use it to put fear into their prey.
Right. No, there's a handful of animals on this earth that infrasound is proven to be using for. Now, elephants use it to communicate for up to 100 miles away.
Well, I've heard it longer.
It can be, yes. So elephants use infrasound so that if one's out of the pack or lost, infrasound brings them back. We don't hear it. No one hears it, but people feel it.
Right.
But they hear it, and it's like sonar to them. They know where to go.
And that's why a lot of people who have these Sasquatch encounters, they get scared because they said they could feel it in their body.
Right. It said it froze me. I felt my whole being was frozen.
Now,
and that's infrasound.
Now, when I had my encounter, I didn't experience that.
Right.
But then again, they may not have been trying to scare me off.
No.
They just wanted to say, hey, we're here. Like I said, the male, he made himself present, then he kept moving.
Right.
Until the neighbor screamed and he came back. But the female stood there the whole time. And I'm guessing because I had youngsters.
Could be.
The thing that popped into my head was the twins. It could have been brother and sister, so maybe the sister had no kids. So, and jumping forward to when you and your kids went fishing at Fenton, didn't one of your boys straight up ask one of the rangers about Bigfoot activity?
They did, and they wouldn't tell us.
Well, no, they said a set of twins.
Well, no, we asked twice. The first time they went, but the second time they said there was a set of twins up there, and that's when I told my son, well, we heard about them on Finding Bigfoot. But the first time we went up, because me and my boys always went up. My boys love to fish. That's what they do. And, and when we went to the other side of the lake, that's when I told you we saw the tree bend.
Right.
So
Now tree bends, tree structures, blocking the road, that's like the norm to us every time we go up there.
We look for that stuff, and that stuff's...
Now,
most people just think, well, it's a
at
dead
least
tree.
once a season, there's a big tree blocking the road.
Every time we go up there.
There's times it helps us because we'll chop it up for firewood.
That's right.
I've showed my friends pictures, and there's no stumps, nothing. Now, real quick, let's touch on this. I sent you the picture that was sent to me about a tree upside down with the roots.
Yeah, how does that happen?
Right. We get back to, is it a hoax? But a lot of these places you can't get equipment to. But like we said with that picture, we don't know the whole story. We don't know what's behind him. There might be a major highway behind him.
Right. And like where we go, you're lucky if you could get... We had to stop taking the camping trailer because there was so much rain this year that you can't get back there. But yet there's still trees blocking the road. And I'll take that back to since we're talking about New Mexico, if you want to, and I found a story about the Taos area up in the Chimayo area, And there was a man that gave his story, and he gave a detailed story of there in that mountain range there were some Squatches, he said. There were some Bigfoot. And as they would go up a road, you know, he said trees kept getting thrown, and they would go and they'd clear them, they'd move it. But they'd come back a day later and the trees were thrown again. And he said he finally got the message that we're not wanted here. And the message was, this is our land. You don't come past this. This is where we live. And they finally seen it. Now, you may still be able to find that on the internet because that's where I found it. And when I read that, I was like, wow. And now these are men that are in their 70s, you know, they're probably deceased by now because I read the story years ago, even before we started this podcast, because I've been into the subject that long. And when I read that story, I was like, well, that's just right up the street, you know.
Right.
Chimayo, Taos, that area is right here. But there is still a lot of sightings in that area because those mountain ranges take you into Colorado.
Right.
What you don't hear is people talking about it because everyone says, I don't want people to think I'm crazy.
Right.
Or that I'm the town kook.
Right. Now, I sent you a picture the other day of one, it looks like a juvenile in the forest, but the picture's kind of weird.
I did see that.
Now-
I looked at it, I was like, ah.
But it's weird. I mean, but it came from the girl that we're supposed to have on the podcast.
Right.
And she backed out. So I don't know what to think of it. I'm not calling her a hoaxer or nothing. But
No.
These pictures are weird. Now, getting back to, do you remember the Sasquatch Ontario?
Yeah.
He would say he would take his camera, but he wouldn't snap any photos. They would superimpose images on there for him.
Well, you know, tell her, come on and explain that photo.
Yeah, I wish they would, but some people aren't. We don't care what people think about us.
I
Some
don't.
people care what they think about us.
I don't because, and here's the reason why we don't care because, for one, you've had a genuine experience. Two, I've been out there with you and I've heard some shit.
Yep.
And things that I can't explain, and I know that's not a man. That's
Right.
that's no human being making that noise.
Right.
Nah.
When I first had my experience, one of the first things you asked me was, "Are you sure it wasn't people messing with you?"
Right.
And when you heard that, it's not people.
It's not.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what we want to bring to you tonight. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you've had a sighting, a haunting, or you've seen a UFO, reach out to us and you know how to do it.
Yep.
Just watch the exit video or we tell you on the way out.
Right. And I want to give a shout out to the Rhinestone Cowboy in San Mateo.
That's right.
I wish you and Valentino a lot of happiness.
You got that. Anyway, thanks for listening. And once again, thanks to Nicoco.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hey, thanks for watching.
We hope all you YouTubers enjoyed the show.
That's right. And don't forget to reach out to us at cryptidcrossroads505@gmail.com.
Peace.
Peace.